video in a line of 5 spirit healer videos. Well, it's actually going to be like 4. But this is the 4th spirit healer that I have. And show you the doll that was chosen. I mean, really, really cute doll. Kind of smooth down the hair a bit. Really cute, almost like a little girl doll. This is the Heritage Mint collection, and it says that on the stand, so it's the original stand. Kind of like golden brownish hair, deep brown eyes, cute little dress. I mean, like perfect shape, no cracks or anything. The only thing is a little staining on the shoe, but that can come right off with nail polish remover, no big deal. So, again, the spirits, they picked out which dolls that they want, and I'm not sure which spirit wants to bond with that one. So let's start off by asking, which spirit was it that picked your name is Aelenora? Okay. Eleanora, can you tell me about yourself? Eleanora, she's German? She's German and Dutch. And what time in history do you come from? Okay, 1068, is that when you were born? Okay, and you died in 1104. Okay, so 32. So you were still in your 30s. A flood? She said she died in a flood. I suppose German and Dutch wouldn't be that far-fetched, except for the time. Well, I'm not even saying that's far-fetched. In the times that you lived, it was not for peasants to go back and forth in between kingdoms. So I'm guessing you have some nobility. She's saying the word, but it's a foreign word. It's like either German or Dutch. What's the English translation? So you were the daughter of what the English would refer to as a marquis. Okay. She said her mother was a duchess and her father was a marquis. Those are English terms. They are not. So who is from where? So your mother was Dutch and your father was German. And I'm guessing you went to live in Germany? I mean, you were brought up in Germany? Okay. But you didn't die in Germany. You, oh, yeah. She was married to lower nobility. He was a basically what you would call a lord, but he had influence in the court. Hold on one minute. This dog. You are awful. Stop this now. Sit on your side and stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You gonna go out in the other room? You go in the other room? You don't want it? Cut it out. Okay. So I want to say she was like in Amsterdam when she died. Or like close to Amsterdam. Listen, sit still. Sit still. No. No. Sit still. Now, did you have any children? She gave birth to 7 children, and of those 7 children, 3 survived. One was a boy. No, 2 were boys and 1 was a girl. Okay. So, Aelenora, did anything like unusual happen in your life, or she said she lived a very normal life. She like a lot of noble women did, she made clothing for the poor. What she actually did is she grew food in her garden and sent her servants out to distribute it to like the households of like all the poor people that was on her husband's land. She gave away her food to them. Which is something, you know, not a lot of people in the nobility really concern themselves with that, especially in the Middle Ages. They considered doing their part if you were like basically one of their slaves or one of their servants. They fed you, they clothed you, they gave you a place to stay, and they didn't give you any money, but in return, you know, you had food, you had shelter over your head, your children had food on the table, and they thought that was all that they needed to do for people that worked for them. But she didn't. She really took to heart other people's pains. So I think in life she may have been an actual empath, because any loss, if she heard of tragedy, like say there was an accident in the fields, or if the men went off to battle and you know, somebody found out that their husband had died and now they didn't know what they were going to do to keep themselves and their children, she would go to them and she would grieve with them. She would cry with them. And she would do everything that she could to make sure they were taken care of, their children were taken care of. She, back in a time when only nobility and really only the men of the nobility knew how to read or write, she herself was educated because her father thought it was important. And she passed that on because she understood how much better your life could be if you were educated. So what she did is she formed a school for the boys and girls if the parents would send them. A lot of parents didn't think it was necessary for girls, so there was only like maybe 1 or 2 girls, I think, ever. But in the season where the children weren't needed, especially to tend the fields, or so we're talking about like maybe winter time, she paid for a teacher to tutor all these students. And it wasn't the same kind of tutoring that nobility would get. They would, like, nobility would be taught multiple languages. They would absolutely know Latin, possibly Greek. They would definitely know French and English, because those were very well, not even English, because England was kind of like their own thing, but French was very important. German was very important. And the common thread between kingdoms is that most of the nobility spoke Latin. So other than their own language, the second language they would learn was Latin. And if a girl was going to be going to, if she was engaged to, say, somebody in France and she was German, they would teach her how to speak French. Otherwise, she wouldn't learn it. She would learn the language of the country that she was engaged to, basically. So these students didn't know Latin. They didn't learn Latin. They learned their own language, but they were taught to read and write their own language. Was really important in the Dark Ages. Very important. And I say the Dark Ages, you could say medieval age. I mean, it's the same thing. The reason it's the dark is because the Renaissance didn't happen yet. The Renaissance happened in the 1400s, and that's when science and art came back that were lost after the fall of Rome. So these were called the Dark Ages because superstition ruled. I mean, they had like no idea about medicine, art. There really wasn't any art. I mean, there were manuscripts, there were tapestries, but we're not talking about like the Mona Lisa. They were not painting. That's why it's called the Dark Ages. So she was very much loved, and I want to say like the modern comparison, so you can understand just how important she was to the people that she was basically lady of the manor to. In modern terms, she would be looked at like Princess Diana. Where most people wouldn't care or wouldn't think it was important, she would go in, she would hold, I mean, you know, nobility wouldn't touch a peasant. She would hold them, console them. She she would walk with them. She would allow them to come to her house, which is something that, you know, didn't happen. But if they ever needed her, they could come to her house and she would meet with them and listen to whatever problem it was and offer her intervention with her husband or do what she could on her own. So she was very important in that, and she was very loved. And when I want to say she died, she was, I'm like seeing like it's not like a coach, it's like we would call it a sleigh type of thing. But it wasn't during winter. That's just the way they had things back then. And I think it was just I'm not sure if it was a bridge or a road. It was already like flooded over. Maybe they couldn't. I guess I'm gonna say it's a bridge because it was flooded over and they weren't sure what was road or not. And I think it was just like a rush. Now, like, was this in the spring? What I see is it just got overwhelmed really quickly. It just got over. And if you've ever seen like the videos of like floods, you see like a car and it doesn't look so bad, and you see the car creeping along, and all of a sudden it's just it's just floating down. And that's what happened. And in those days, people did not know how to swim, and it got caught up. Like the horse was flailing. Her driver got flung off. She hung on to something for a little bit, but there was like nobody nearby, and she ended up getting tired and she lost her grip, and she was just like swept along until she drowned. Her driver did try to get to her, but he was further out, and he was like trying to swim back to her. And not that he really knew how to swim. He was like dog paddling or doing whatever he could. But he was like against the flow, and he just got pushed. He couldn't get to her. She is in a tomb. I think there's like a stone effigy on her coffin. I think. But I don't think it's in the church. I don't know where it is, but it's not in a church. It's not in a crypt vault. I don't know where it is. Did they ever find your body? Okay. Okay. That, now I understand what she's showing me. Her husband. Okay, now I understand it. Okay, so what her husband did is he had a statue made up of her. And I don't know the right word that I'm looking for here. Not representative. She's supposed to be like Jesus' mother Mary. But she's like in what you call an apse in a church. And it's her face, and like it's her, like, you know, the type of garment she used to wear. But when he gave it to this church and dedicated it, he said it was Mary, just so that they would put it in the church, because if it wasn't a religious icon, they wouldn't allow it in the church. And that's what she's telling me. That's why I was like, I don't think it's in a church. It's because she's not supposed to be in the church. He said it was a statue of the Mother Mary that he was gifting to the church, but it was actually a statue of her, kind of like dressed as Mary. Now, did you have a happy marriage? Did you love? You did? Yeah, she did. She had a very happy marriage. And I could see that she must have basically had some goodwill with her husband, at the very minimum, to be able to do all that she did for the people around her. And he married again, he did, but it was much later in his life. And he basically married a woman that would take care of the children, basically. Take care of like the matters that she used to do. But it was, for him, it was a marriage of convenience, just to deal with the matters that she used to do, as opposed to a marriage of love, because he had his love and she was gone. So were you naturally empathic? Did you feel like the grief and when you were alive, you felt all that? Okay. So that explains why she's gravitating basically to be an empathic healer. She did it in life. And you know, the funny thing is, I actually have an empty Princess Diana doll. But she didn't want it. She didn't want to be a part. Although she would be basically like an ancient Princess Diana. So you're sure you do not want the Diana? No, she doesn't want the Diana doll. She said, I'm me. I'm not anyone else. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want me to mention or bring up? Is there anything that I have missed? Is there anything you want to say? Okay, so we're all done? Okay. So that is it for Aelenora. If you are interested in Aelenora, she will be up on my website, the www.salemwillowwitchery.com. I will put a link to her in the description under the video. If you do not see a buy it now button underneath her, then that means that she's already sold. I just haven't taken the listing down yet. my healing spirits go pretty fast. So if you see her and you like her story, grab her. And again, like I mentioned in the other video, if you see her but you don't have the entire payment right now, but you don't want to miss out on her, email me. Again, I can invoice you through PayPal. It allows you to make a partial payment to me until you can make the whole payment. It will reserve her. She will come down off the site so nobody else can grab her. So, yeah, never let the price be a detriment to you. I'm always willing to work something out, especially when it comes to healing spirits. So that is it for Aelenora, and I will see you guys in the very last of my healer spirit videos.